I want to thank all of you for coming. And I'm just so pleased to be the chair of this group. And this is a year that we have to do everything possible to support our candidates. And if you're not helping out, but I think everybody that I see that's attending is, but I wanted you to know that we have lots of opportunities still available. So if you have a friend or family member that wants to do something, here's like a rundown of what you can do. The Voter Values Project, it reaches out to the independents, and that's our largest group of voters. And it's super important because we'll never get anywhere in this county without them. So we have a joint effort. DWPA is assisting an initiative put forward by Prescott Indivisible, and we're reaching out to talk to the independents, encouraging them to sign up for PEVL and also find out what their issues are. So we need people to write postcards. And Nancy Click is our board member who is the co-chair of the project. So you can reach out to her at nancyclick@gmail.com, or you can all write to me at any time, maria488@icloud.com, or through the website contact info, and I'll let you know what's available. And all this information will also be on the website tomorrow. So if you want to make calls for Mark Kelly, you can call Linda Miggs. She's a DWPA member. Judy Staal, you can call Kelsey, or we'll connect you with Kelsey Wilkes, another DWPA member. Jane Moore, DWPA member, is the volunteer coordinator for John Lutz. Jay Ruby is coordinating the LD6 campaign and pushing canvas from your couch. Bart Beardsley is the volunteer coordinator for the Yavapai Democratic Party, and there will be lots to do when we get closer to the election. And Alexandra Piacenza is the Yavapai County Precinct Committee Chair. So if you know somebody that has a desire to be a committeeman, her information will also be on the website. So it'll all be on there tomorrow, so you can click on, and I'll also have it in the newsletter that will come out in about 8 days. So there's also a big push to get McConnell out of the Senate and out of his seat as Senate Majority Leader. We all know what a danger he's been and how he suppressed so much potential legislation this year. So there's a postcard writing opportunity through the Action Network, and that's on our website. It's on our homepage. They'll send you postcards, a script, and then they'll ask that you pay for the postage. And they're asking that you sign up for 50 or 100 postcards. So hopefully we'll have a good group that'll participate in this campaign. They want to send out 22,000, I think, postcards, maybe more, but anyway, I'll double check on that. Sorry. So one of our efforts is also I've been collecting masks for the Navajo Nation. So the Democratic Women, Prescott Indivisible, and other community members have donated 3,745 masks and face shields. I sent out thank you notes yesterday. So if you donated masks and didn't receive a thank you, again, please let me know. And our Facebook page, we have is being promoted to Marjorie Cole, one of our board members, and Bev Pettit, who's another DWPA member, of course. And we've tripled our followers like in 3 weeks. So there's always a lively discussion. So check it out, please. And I put together the newsletters. So if you ever have info you want to add, get it to me because it's for all of us. So, you know, this past few months, we've had a fundraiser for supporting the two organizations in our area that support the victims of domestic violence, Stepping Stones and the Prescott Area Shelter Services. So last week, we presented 2 checks for $2,005, one for Prescott Area Shelter Services and the other for Stepping Stones. So I want to thank all of you who donated. It was just great. And Isabel Saracades, our treasurer, made that gigantic check. So thanks, Isabel. And then Linda Call has gotten all this information out to the media. So we have a really good board and we support each other. So. One of our members, Jan Batanti, has organized a craft fair for the vets, and it's this weekend at Mountain Oak School. And that's on Willow Creek Road in Prescott. And she will have masks available. On Saturday, the hours are from 9 to 4, and on Sunday, they're 9 to 3. I feel like I'm doing a bunch of commercials here. So, Nancy Scharf made these masks. She made 10 of them, and we're asking for a $10 donation for the masks, and the money will go to our scholarship fund. So you can either contact me if you want one, or I'll be at the gazebo at the Prescott Square next Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. So, and then this button is courtesy of Barbara Jacobson, and it's by donation. And that's to remind people why we are wearing our masks. So. Today we're going to wind up our meeting with our opportunity drawing. We have $500 that will be shared between the Judy Staal campaign and the winner, and Kelsey Wilkes will be spinning the wheel. So don't go anywhere till that's completed. Our first speaker today is Dr. Donna Michaels, and she's running for Yavapai County Board of Supervisors, District 3. She's the first female on this side of the mountain to run in over 37 years. She has spent a lifetime developing partnerships and action plans and putting them in place. She's a public author on social policy, public administration, and capital campaigns. She has expertise in the fields of education, public policy, land use planning, and government regulation. And her passion for horses has led to an involvement in support and pro bono consultation for a number of equine organization and ventures. Among her many affiliations, she's on the Yavapai County Board of Trustees. She's on the Verde Valley Land Preservation Institute, and a board member and a chair of the 2019 Town Hall Forum. She's also the founder and board member of Veterans Equine Therapeutic Alliance. I look forward to hearing about her platform and her campaign. So, Dr. Michaels.
Well, thank you very much. What an honor to be here today, and I am grateful for that opportunity that you have provided, and for all the support that you're giving to our candidates. This is a unique time in our history, and a moment for Arizona to do great things. And look at all these wonderful women who are joining together to make them happen. So I'm very grateful to you all for your support. And I decided to get into this race when it was clear that, like so many across the country, name any issue, but certainly here locally as well, there is a sense of and an experience of a disconnect between our elected officials and our voting public and our citizens locally. And I was invited to run for Yavapai County Supervisor District 3 when folks saw me in a variety of settings speaking to this disconnect and this tone deafness, if you will, on matters related to our community. And so with terrific support and a great deal of energy, we've reached out all across Yavapai County, including District 3, to listen and ask the question of what matters to you in your communities? What is it that creates your sense of place? And what do you need for your supervisor to do to protect it? And that really underscores what I am about. You know, the job of a supervisor is many-fold, but it's really simple at its heart. It is to recognize that every community has a right to create its own sense of place, and that a supervisor's job is to protect it. And there are any number of ways to do that, to advocate for social justice issues, whether it's the lack of services, for example, particularly in rural Arizona, and Yavapai County is no exception to that in the Verde Valley area, for services for our veterans, whether it's addressing homelessness in evidence-based ways that demonstrate that we're decreasing those numbers, whether it's a workforce development, where we're attracting young families into our Verde Valley area so we can truly become the self-reliant Verde Valley that we are destined to become. And whether it's looking at development matters, and that includes land use. That, of course, includes how we steward our diminishing resources. And water is a huge piece of that. And it really has demonstrated to me in the last many months as I entered the exploratory and then announced officially this past November as a candidate, that there are 4 major issues right now in our Yavapai County, and in District 3 in particular. Certainly the Verde Connect. I'm sure most of you have heard about that. Otherwise known as the Road to Nowhere. I am a candidate who is opposed to it for any number of reasons, but here's key. Again, my job as a supervisor is to listen to my constituents, to galvanize plans, to develop a shared vision, and then implement. And if I'm listening to my constituency on the Verde Connect matter, it's loud and clear that our Verde Valley residents do not want this connect, this road. They see it as not addressing the infrastructure need, and I concur. They see it as far too costly, and I concur. The $25 million, essentially a coupon that the federal government is offering to build a bridge to span the largest area of the Verde River across 600 acres of our most important agricultural land for produce is ill-conceived. And the up to $100 million, as it's projected, for the infrastructure to connect either end of that bridge is a boondoggle. What we need to do instead is look at how to mitigate traffic challenges that we have now, but do it in a fiscally responsible way, and certainly with full engagement of our community. And again, that's a common theme in my campaign. How do we realize uh, uh, full engagement of our community? What's the level of participation? And how can we make sure that every voice is heard and part of a decision-making process? So Verde Connect is certainly one in our neck of the woods. I know in others, your neck of the woods, for example, the Criminal Justice Center and the funding of it, resoundingly defeated a couple of times. I am being told that once again, there is a tone deafness, a lack of connect between our elected officials and supervisors in this case and their constituents. And so as much as we all want, and to a person, the folks that I've talked with on both sides of the mountain see the importance of diversion programs. What a terrific job Sheriff Scott Masher has done, and really making the foundation here for us for a paradigm shift in what we mean by criminal justice system. So diversion programs, crisis intervention, where if someone's called and it's determined that it's behavioral or mental health rather than, or drug, rather than a criminal issue, a crisis intervention team goes. The recidivism rate is down by the most recent NAU study on the jail. So we know all of these components that really are what all of us in this room describe as a criminal justice system are important, and we need to increase those. But it begs the question of why we are putting more jail space when, if in fact our diversion programs are effective, and if in fact the NAU study is correct, and I believe it to be, our recidivism rate is down to 16%, by 16% rather, then perhaps we shouldn't be making capital investments in facility, because we could use those dollars to increase our crisis intervention and mental health, behavioral health offerings. And surely that's really what a civil society prefers to do. So it's really about how do we decrease the need with our expenditures of building more jails. And I think that that's the conundrum that's been presented to you folks on that side of the mountain, and certainly the consternation on this side that we're not placing the money in the right places for the right reasons. And so I don't support that at this point in time, particularly in light of looking through the lens of COVID-19. How in the world could we possibly justify an 18% property tax, primary property tax increase on people who are wondering how they're going to keep their homes right now, how they're going to get back to work again? And so frankly, all budgetary decisions, I think, need to go back on the table. It's only responsible stewardship after this pandemic that we're experiencing and going to continue to experience. We don't know what the economic impact is going to be, but it's significant. We all are feeling it. And so every budget item, I think, absolutely needs to be looked at again through the lens of COVID-19. And let's make the best decisions we can in the environment that we're in. And I'm uniquely qualified in my training, in my research, in my 30 plus years of community work on issues like this to come to the table with strategies for consensus building and for implementation on solutions. Our neck of the woods again, but certainly in the Prescott area as well, when we think of the Dell development, our development matters on this side of the mountain. And, you know, there's a requirement for and an expectation. And again, that's where our constituents are feeling left out of the conversation and the decision-making process that they rightly deserve to be in as it relates to development. The review process ought to look through the lens of community plans those are our guiding documents. I've had the good pleasure of working on many of them. I have the scars to prove it. It's a challenging process, but what you get as a result of that is a solid vision of where you want to go, who you are now, what you want as a community to achieve. And they're not being listened to. And without exception, in every community, I'm hearing, Donna, they're not hearing us when we say to a tune of 1,000 letters of opposition, we don't want this here. And here's what I'll promise you. I will listen. And it will be an important variable that is weighted and ranked according to the review process equation that we have to be using. And we're not using very effectively or consistently the Yavapai comprehensive plan either, by the way. So it's all of our individual plans throughout all of our communities in Yavapai County in concert with the Yavapai County Comprehensive Plan. And so I look for a stabilization in that process and a clarity in community plans as we move forward into the updating of them due by the county and their plan 2021 or 22 rather. And so we have our work cut out for us, and I'm prepared to roll up my sleeves and work with communities all across Yavapai County to achieve the right outcomes that can help us, as my recurring themes throughout my campaign state, to protect, preserve, and promote. Protect our extraordinary legacy that we have in Arizona and rural Arizona, in the Verde Valley and Yavapai County in particular, to preserve our diminishing resources. And I will spend a moment on that again, and to then promote. Let's promote robust 21st century economies that are regenerative in nature. And what do I mean by that? Good question. We have terrific examples on both sides of the mountain, by the way, of regenerative economies that we need to get behind and support, and not only focus then on how many hotels we can build that provide the kind of income and wage that it makes it difficult for people to live in our communities. And that doesn't attract young families to raise their families here. And so that's why we're seeing schools close on our side of the mountain rather than open and be filled. And so some of those developments are regenerative examples of economies, have to do with our ag sector, viticulture on that side here as well. It's a $35 million industry in Yavapai County. It could be a $350 million industry. And here's the beauty of it. It's regenerative because after those vineyards are established, it's a low water crop. What's more important and dear than protecting our diminishing water resources, while at the same time, so it's not a zero-sum game, while at the same time we grow and increase our robust economies that do exist here, and they are here. And certainly in the ag area, we have wonderful cattle ranches. And I love to tell the story of Plowing Ahead Ranch, for example. That is a regenerative example of an economy, a robust economy, because they drive up to Flagstaff, based out of Camp Verde, collect the mash from our microbreweries. Mash is a byproduct of microbrewing. Bring it down to Camp Verde, feed their cattle, thereby reducing the footprint of grazing, and also, and importantly, the footprint of the water being pulled from the Verde River. The cows are happy, and the meat is free from all of the bad stuff that we get when we go to the grocery store. There are no hormones, there are no antibiotics, there are no preservatives. And so that's an example of a robust economy that we should be supporting. And I'll speak more about that in just a minute if there's questions to it and if we have time. And then last but certainly not least, water. And there's no doubt that, at least from my perspective, the county supervisors have abdicated. That's a strong word, I know, but there's the reality of it. Abdicated their voice in discussions as it relates to water. It's time that we realize that though we have geographic divisions, we're all on the same water. And we need to understand that that diminishing resource can only be um, protected with appropriate stewardship if we all are at the table. So as your supervisor, thinking about how we could composing for example, a water commission, a water study commission, where we could work with CWAG and other entities to really come together as one voice instead of that's what they want from the big the little Chino and the big Chino and the aquifer on their side, and here's what we need, scrambling to even get a management, an active management area consideration. If we all approach it, frankly, as others have before, that it's a precious resource, we need to know before we make any development decision what the implications are and how long into the future we can be good stewards of it. And I will say this to you, as we increase our science and understanding through the fields of hydrology, we're getting closer to that appreciation. And so there's no excuse. There's no excuse for us not to sit down together, for us to meet in Prescott and here as a county and look at how we can work together to make sure that we are good stewards during the time that we have in our leadership role, but also as a community. And we need all the stakeholders at the table to do that. And I promise you that that will be a major priority for me. I hear folks say, well, you know, Donna, you can't really do it because there's surface water and then there's groundwater. And, those statutes are totally different, and you really can't do anything about it. And my question is, that's why. The legislature is there in order for us to advance legislation that will recognize, for example, that groundwater and surface water are inextricably intertwined, and that it's our responsibility at long last to address it that way and to ensure through successful work, not advancing bills that are not passed in the legislature, but evidenced by new legislation that will in fact protect this diminishing but oh so precious resource for us, so that we can be a regenerative, self-reliant Yavapai County. And I'm committed to ensuring that we move in that direction. We can do it, but we'll have to do it with leadership that recognizes that that's a responsibility and that they have the will to do it, the skill to do it, and the desire and commitment to do it. And I offer all of that in my campaign to you all, and appreciate the opportunity. Love being here today. Thank you so very much, particularly now that we've pivoted to social media. This is a precious resource that you offer to our campaigns, and thank you for doing that. And thank you for your time today. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Donna. I haven't had the opportunity to hear you speak, and it was great. Everybody's very impressed. And somebody in the chat said that water is a regional issue. We know that, and we're just so pleased that you can address this and how it's threatening our lifestyle and the life that we have here. So thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Excuse me, Leslie McCown is the communications director of the Yavapai Democratic Party, and she takes care of literally everything, the website, the newsletter. She's also works for John Lutz campaign in the same manner, and she is also involved with 5 Census magazine. So excuse me. Leslie, you want to go ahead and give us some of your updates?
Thank
Excuse
you,
me.
and thank you all for having me. Yavapai County Democratic Party has been very busy in the past 5 months implementing a robust and multi-pronged voter outreach campaign with one goal: ensuring that every voter can vote safely by mail by registering for the permanent early voting list, or as we all know it affectionately as the PEVL. In early May, AZDP, thanks to a private $4 million donation, mailed out over 450,000 PEVL forms to voters across Arizona who were not registered to vote by mail. Now a concentrated campaign, or a PEVL chase, is underway using phone and text to make sure these PEVL forms are returned by July 24th. If you're interested in volunteering to help with those phone calls or texting, you can contact Derry Honeyman at Mission for Arizona, and I will put his email information in the chat after the meeting. I have an important update concerning changing or updating your address connected to your voter registration. Do not use Service Arizona to change your address on your voter registration. They have developed a new website that does not operate correctly. I was directed by the Secretary of State's office to direct all voters who need to change their address to request a voter registration form by calling or downloading from the Yavapai County Recorder's Office. New voter registrations can still go through Service Arizona. That works perfectly well. But all voters wanting to register for PEVL or for ballot by mail should go through myarizona.vote. That is the new Secretary of State's website, and it is spectacular. A more exciting news, I have actually been given permission by the Elections Board as a vote center inspector to publish the safety protocols for all the Yavapai County vote centers for the primary election. That detailed protocol will be published on yavdem.org and in the July issue of 5 Census magazine. Please share this information to inform voters that they will be able to vote safely in person at the Yavapai County vote centers. More exciting news, if that wasn't enough, the DNC will be releasing a new purged voter tool. This will be given to political parties and campaigns to access the names and contact information of voters who have been purged from the current voter lists. Last year, the Republican-controlled Senate passed a bill that removed over 200,000 voters who have not voted in the last 2 consecutive elections, arbitrarily making them ineligible to vote. This tool will enable us to reach those voters and get them re-registered. So it's really super, super, super exciting. The Yavapai County Election Board reports that over 80.3% of Yavapai voters are now registered to vote by mail. And that registration is rising every day, so that's good news. Please, if you could help us with this last push in July to get people registered for PEVL, early vote by mail, again, please send them to myarizona.vote. I will show a graphic on that when we are finished. We will be expecting campaign signs to begin arriving at YCDP HQ mid to late July. We're working on a safe pickup schedule as our office is still closed, and looking for volunteers who would possibly be interested in helping with that. If you could contact us at info@yavdem.org if you're interested in volunteering. So please also consider contribution to YavDems. We will be launching a direct mail campaign to reach purge voters ahead of the October 6th registration deadline. and your support will help us do that. Postage is expensive. You can sign up for our newsletter at yavdem.org to get more information on everything that we're doing. And to finish, please share and like our posts on social media. We have a pretty active Facebook and Twitter page, and if you guys could help spread the word, I'd really appreciate it. And that is me. I think that went a lot faster than I thought it was going to. Thank you, Maria, and thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Leslie. Get me all those volunteer opportunities, and we'll put that on our website also.
Will do.
Thank you. So the next part of our meeting, we're going to have, excuse me, questions. Questions for both Delina DeSanto and Stu Starkey. They're both running in the primary for, excuse me, I'm so sorry, for Arizona's 4th Congressional District. They both appeared before us at prior meetings. And Delina she's been a finance director for several hospitals. She worked with a US Senator. She's a registered nurse, and she's a strong advocate for what people need and deserve. She's also a small business owner with her husband and resides in Cave Creek with Dave and their dog and her small cat. She and her husband are empty nesters. And I can just tell you, Delina's been all over the district, as has Stu Starkey. And Stu is an educator, and he ran against McCain for the Senate in 2004. And I think you've all heard his story about how he was encouraged by one of his daughters to run for the Senate. And his daughter said to him, well, if you don't run, Dad, who will do it? So he picked up the gauntlet and took off, which is pretty amazing. So Tracy Smiles, who's one of our board members, she's going to be asking the questions to both Stu and Delina, and they each have 3 minutes to answer the question. And at the end of all the questions, we will ask if you have additional questions based on their presentations, please put it in chat and put a question mark or question before your comment. And then we'll review them and ask at the end of the session. So Tracy, it's a pleasure to introduce Tracy, one of our board members. And so are you ready with your first question?
I am. So welcome, Stu and Delina. We're delighted to have you here again. We're going to alternate between who answers the question first. So this first question, and by the way, these questions did come from the membership of DWPA. So I will probably pose them as such. Delina, we're going to begin with you first.
Okay.
In thinking about civility, we wanted to know if you have any ideas to encourage social responsibility and civility among all Tri-City residents to help quell the spread of the virus, especially considering the upcoming rodeo crowds and 4th of July celebrations.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a lot of people that feel that we're infringing on their rights. And to be honest with you, really all we need to do right now is to be role models, encourage social responsibility with our friends, our families, and even promote it on social media, because people see that. And I think sometimes what's happening is many people are not used to wearing masks and they're embarrassed. And so they come up with this infringement of my rights, mostly because they're embarrassed to wear a mask. But we need to continue wearing our masks and showing others that we're being responsible, not just for ourselves, but for them. So we can offer positive reinforcement so that they can wear masks. So like if they're wearing a mask, you could say, thank you for wearing a mask, or I appreciate that you're wearing a mask. Because unfortunately, our governor is not setting a good example. He's not standing up for Arizona to require masks. Maricopa County here and many cities have adopted countywide face masks. But the problem still is there's no enforcement. A lot of our police officers don't want to have to enforce wearing a mask. But we do have rules, right? I mean, we go into a restaurant, we go into these stores and they say no shirt, no shoes, no service. And there's no reason why we can't include the statement to wear a mask, especially during pandemics like this. But to be honest with you, the only way that we're going to be able to make the change, and I wish we could just say it with a wand that you have to wear a mask, it's going to take strong leaders to do that. And Doug Ducey's not one of them. Paul Gosar is not one of them. Trump is definitely not one of them. And we also are going to need to enforce the fines and the penalties. But to me, the biggest issue that's going to happen is a lawsuit. Does everybody remember when McDonald's got sued because somebody spilled coffee on their lap and burned themselves? That's what's going to happen, I think, with this pandemic and wearing a mask. I think someone's going to catch COVID and they're going to sue whatever it is, whether it be a church, a store, a restaurant, whatever, a rally, and they're going to win. And I think that's going to be where we're probably going to start, is a lawsuit, because right now we don't have the leaders to take it over.
Thank you. Stu, do you need me? Are you here?
No, he's not here, Tracy.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
He probably has video problems.
oh, okay. Then I guess we'll just proceed with Delina for the next question, Maria.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So this member wrote, quote, I'm concerned about the concept of Second Amendment sanctuary cities and the efforts to push this false narrative that the Democrats are planning to take away your guns. So we need to assure that people can become an armed militia. How do you balance the rights of the Second Amendment and the safety of the people?
Yeah, and you know Paul Gosar is one of the strongest proponents for sanctuary cities. I mean, he was over in Mojave County. He sent somebody over to Prescott. He sent somebody into Maricopa County. I mean, he is really, really involved with this, and it really makes me very, very nervous. But you know what? I believe that we have the right to own guns. But you know what? We also have the right to live. And there are approximately 100 people a day that are killed by guns. And there's 136,000 people shot each year. So I'm a proponent of Gabby Giffords and her push for gun safety, and we do need comprehensive gun safety laws, and especially the background checks, the red flag laws, the boyfriend loophole, the large capacity magazines. We need a ban on those. We need to ban automatic assault weapons, and you know what? These laws won't hurt the guy up in the tree trying to kill his deer. So this is, if they're hunters, and I said this in 2018, if they're a good hunter, they can shoot with just a one bullet and get it done. But you know what? Somebody wants to take an automatic weapon and shoot up the forest and see how many they hit. So, but also there's that ghost guns. They're becoming very, very popular off the online market. And so they don't have any rules or regulations, and it's like a 3D kit where you can have it made online and mailed to you without any background checks. And that needs requirement for background checks. And right now, I know that California is passing a law as we speak against these ghost guns. And I know there are several legislations in the House right now that are going up against this with the NRA, because they do need to have background checks. Because 1 out of 3 crime guns that are found in California, 1 out of 3 were ghost guns. And they're getting more and more popular. And the other thing I want to talk about too is arming teachers in our public schools. I know this is another legislation that I think they're trying to incorporate right now in the new bill that Nancy Pelosi is working on in the House, because there's been no evidence that the presence of these resource officers or security guards lessen any of the severity of the school shootings. And so I'm hoping that goes through. And Arizona actually has noted in Article 2, Section 26, so the Arizona court, and I'll read this here, 26, does not grant an absolute right to bear arms under all situations, and emphasized that individuals' right to bear arms in self-defense must be balanced with the state's duty under its police power to make reasonable regulations to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. So again, I totally believe that these sanctuary cities are going to be especially with the coming election in November, they're going to think that they are a militia and will have the right to bear arms against whomever they feel are a threat to our nation. And I think we need to take control of that right away. And I'm hoping we have leaders that'll do that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi, Tracy. Stu is back with us.
Okay. Stu, would you like to address the first question we asked about civility and social responsibility? Do you need, can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Any better?
Better.
Now we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, so I apologize. I'm in Parker for an event tonight. My phone chose that moment to overheat. So, you know, I think it is true. We simply needed a governor to step forward, and he abdicated. A very crucial time as we were just getting into the spike here. Firsthand, I've watched it because, yes, as a school leader, but also I've been running a food bank, you know, on my campus for the last 2 months. And we've seen what's been happening, you know, out on the front line. Certainly we don't have the issues that doctors and nurses have had, but we've been, you know, with hundreds of family every day and hearing that now everybody knows somebody. And they know somebody who's gotten sick. So this is a crucial time for Phoenix. So I think we have to, yes, lead by continuing to do what's right on our own, but I think we really do need to try to get those people in the public who can persuade to change their minds on the stances that they have. We're seeing a lot of conversation because sports athletes in the idea of coming back into playing are testing positive. And that's having an impact with people who at first thought this wasn't a serious issue. But I can tell you the president yesterday was no more than a few blocks from my house. And when you saw that auditorium filled with young people, totally disregarding masks for the most part, we're going to see a spike way worse than anything we've seen so far. So we really need to try to get pressure on our leaders to change their position and to lead by example. The best thing I can do tonight when I walk in, you know, against 5 or 6 Republicans for different offices, is I'll have a mask on. So hopefully that will make people understand that I'm willing to sacrifice on my end or what you might think of me in order to protect you. So I hope that we can, in this most deadly and dangerous time for Phoenix, get our leaders and those who can lead by example to step forward.
Thank you. The second question was about this concept of Second Amendment sanctuary cities and how to balance the rights of the Second Amendment with the safety of the people.
Yeah, and you know, I'll never forget when this first started as a campaign for me, being at the county fair in Mojave and having that discussion with not only folks walking the fair, but with gun shop owners, you know, who were displaying at the fair, and trying to have a cordial conversation to find common ground. And we must have that conversation face to face. So wherever I go, I try to make sure that we can bring that up as an issue and have a dialogue. And it is interesting that if you can get away from the GOSARs of the world, there is common ground amongst parts of the Republican Party, the moderate wing of the Republican Party, and even conservative Republicans know the issues that we face, and it's been interesting to have that dialogue. So I think we need to be able to go out front and have the discussion with people who are strong advocates for the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment does not mean your gun belongs in the hands of your son or daughter who takes it to school. So there are conversations we have had where we find common ground, reducing the size of clips, mandatory gun safes if you have somebody under 18 in your house. So I think as we see social change taking place right now, we need to make sure that the Second Amendment conversation is at the front of it. And I think if we do that, we can have incremental change. And right now, I would be more than happy to see incremental change take place. But we also need to directly come right back at them, because we hear all the time, oh, you're going to take my gun away. Buddy, I don't want your gun. And with all the problems in the world right now, the last thing I care about is whether or not you own 1 gun or 6. I care about the safety issue as it relates to the gun, and I care about the things that we can do to stop these mass shootings and these targeted killings and these raid shootings. I've lost too many former students to gun violence in South Phoenix, where I've been now for 20 years, to know the impact that's happening on our streets. We need to address it, but we need to be courageous to address it straightforward.
Well, thank you. Stu, since Delina had to answer the first 2 questions first, I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question to you.
Go ahead. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's fine. We'll let you make it up. Arizona communities in CD4 are growing rapidly. We have new communities sprouting up that have very dense housing that are built in these areas that were once open land, and now contractors are being given the paper water rights. How do you plan to work to control and preserve water in the state for future generations?
Yeah, and it is an issue up where you are, but I can tell you where I'm sitting right now on the outskirts of Parker in La Paz County. It's already not just an issue, it's a crisis. And La Paz County and Mojave County are facing, within a generation, water shortages in their homes. And throughout CD4, we're seeing people have to dig deeper wells. So I have to be blunt and say that there is not an adequate water supply to take care of the growth, we need to look outside that box. We need to work as communities on what we're going to allow in our communities. That's not a federal issue. That's a local issue. That's a zoning issue. For instance, right here in La Paz and in Mojave, where agriculture growth by foreign companies has taken over, the water supply. We need to look for new water resources for this congressional district. And I think there are ways we can do that. They're costly ways, but I think there's nothing to consider in cost when you are looking at not being able to run your tap, within a generation. So if we could get California to reopen some desalinization plants that never were turned on and remove them from the Colorado River, and we can, in fact, much like the Central Arizona project of decades ago, look at bringing a new resource of water from the Pacific all the way in to the watersheds for CD4. And we can also look, we see pipelines carrying shale oil and natural gas from all over the country, thousands of miles of pipeline, but we have never considered pipelines of water. So I think we can look to our neighbor states as well as the Canada to the north and look at pipelines of fresh water to refill the aquifers and maintain the supply for, decades and generations to come. So I think what we need is a congressman working within the district who is willing to look at proposals that can provide a new water resource, or else I don't think we can solve this problem.
Thank you. Delina?
Well, currently the federal government has control over the riparian rights, but not our aquifers. There is no federal mandate to protect our aquifers. And Trump's 2021 budget calls for 27% cut in the Environmental Protection Agency. And our wetlands and millions of streams and creeks will be at risk to corporate polluters. My biggest concerns are Saudi Arabia. They're growing alfalfa in La Paz, and as Stu was saying, in Mojave County. They're digging deeper and deeper wells and affecting the local residents who now are having to pay to dig deeper wells. I met a couple in La Paz County who lives near one of these farms, and they had a well that was about almost 300 feet deep. And because Saudi Arabia owns a huge alfalfa farm near there, they had to dig a deeper well, another 500 feet, to water their alfalfa, which they take to Saudi Arabia. And what's concerning me is now they're affecting the local residents here in District 4 that now have to dig another 500, 600, 700 feet. And they don't have the money. They live in a trailer, they have one car, and they have 2 children. And there is no way that they're going to be able to afford to dig a 600-foot well or further so that they can sustain. They're going to their family to fill up water bottles. They take showers with water bottles. And this is not just happening to this one couple, it's happening to hundreds in Kingman and along the Colorado River and La Paz County. And I'm sure around the state, and I know around the nation also. And so we need to do something about having foreign investors buying up our farms and taking the water for their cattle. Now, they're also growing alfalfa along the Colorado River. And so there is no limitations in our rural areas to pump water from wells. That's because
that is your 3 minutes.
Is that my 3 minutes?
So if you could just wrap it up.
All right. Well, the thing is that we're all concerned about the water. On the development side, developers are using false information. They're exaggerating prior agricultural water usage, and they're stating that they can use that for the multiple homes that they want to put in. And my husband and I are builders. We developed a few small lots, and we had to deal with water rights and water. And so I understand, that on the development side, yes, we want to make money. But you know what? We have to also be very concerned about the people that we're affecting. And water, to me, is severely important. If we don't, and I think the federal government should step in regards to monitoring wells, not just riparian water.
Thank you, Delina. I'm going to go ahead and keep you here and ask you, when you are elected as our CD4 representative, what committees will you apply for and why?
Wow. Well, I would definitely love to be on the Oversight Committee. I know GOSAR is on that committee right now. And I'd also like to be on the Natural Resource Committee for protecting our environment and water. But I also want to be on our Health and Human Resources for healthcare, because I definitely feel that we need to improve our healthcare here in the United States. So those are the three that I would the top three I would ask for.
Okay, great. Stu, how about you?
Okay, well, I definitely want to take that chair in natural resources. But of course, education. I mean, that's what really motivated me to move into this. But to be honest with you, one of the first things I want to do, if I'm fortunate to win the election, is go meet with Bernie Sanders, because he is a motivating mentor for my political beliefs. So I want to talk to him and to others who share those liberal and progressive points of view and see where I can do the best for the movement. So while there are some things that I would certainly, want for myself, definitely education, because I feel we have to turn this trend in our schools. But I hope to meet with others who, I have great respect for and ask them, how can I serve best?
Thank you. And this next question, Stu, kind of dovetails off of that. What do you see as the most important issues currently facing the House, and what would be your top priority?
So I think that was in terms of what would they do even now before I get there. Is that correct? Or is it once we took office? Maybe I misread the way the question was. Because what I think the House needs to do now is it needs to not lose its voice on social justice. I think it has to look at what's happening in every town across this country, and it needs to maintain the pace of that. Certainly there are, incidents which take, the main headline, but the truth is this has been an issue that I've lived for 20 years, in South Phoenix with my students and my families. And I think we are at a watershed moment, and I think it is an opportunity for us to do more. And it has to be something that maintains the momentum right now. The other, of course, is to get a legitimate voice to the pandemic that we're in, and to find a way to get around this president's obstinance and make certain that we can start to get the resources that are needed out there in the communities. Because I can tell you, doctors and nurses to this day will tell you they are short of the materials they need to serve their patients. So I think if the House was to focus on anything right now, and certainly at the beginning of our term, it would be those two pieces.
Thank you. Delina?
Did you want to know the issues that I currently see, or the ones?
No, it's even though you will not take office until January 2021, what important issues do you currently see as being a top priority?
Well, currently, of course, is the pandemic. And I think funding the CDC, our military, who's also working on a vaccine, and who Trump wants to take their monies away. We seriously need to have a vaccine as soon as we can, but a safe one. And I totally believe that that's happening right now. There are some people in clinicals right now that are taking that vaccine. And I truly believe that we should be able to have one in the near future. And I think I heard Dr. Fauci say maybe the beginning of the year of 2021. So that would be good, but that's really important. We really need to have that. Also, again, healthcare. There was a gentleman that was on the news that came, thank God he survived COVID, and his bill was $563,000, and he does not have health care at all. He is uninsured, not underinsured. And how are they going to protect that? So to me, I believe that what we need to do is to set laws in regards to protecting these people who are getting these huge, outrageous healthcare bills so that they're protected from bankruptcy and to be able to work within the healthcare hospitals, the doctors, so that we can make sure that those are discounted as if they had insurance or Medicare. Or be able to retro a Medicare plan or a Medicaid plan. A lot of them are not able to get on Medicaid because they do make just a little bit too much money. So maybe what I would love is to have that Medicare plan in place and maybe retro it to those people who don't have insurance. I think that's going to be very important. And the other issues of homelessness. We have lots of people that are losing their homes now. They're losing their rentals. They have no place to go. Some of them don't have cars, some of them do. And this is a serious issue that we're going to be, when Joe Biden is elected, we're going to have this huge problem that if we all don't sit at the table and talk about it, along with what Karen Bass is trying to push through also to hold law enforcement accountable, because you're going to have so many people that are going to be criminals, and they're going to be going into the jails because either they're going to be homeless or they're going to be stealing food or they're going to be doing things that they really didn't want to do. They were law-abiding citizens. So I'm hoping that these laws are enacted and that we all sit at the table and talk about it as leaders, so that we're not making an emotional decision. We're looking at the future.
Thank you. Maria, are we out of time now?
We are.
Yeah, okay.
So
thanks, everybody.
Stu, Delina, thank you so much.
Thank you all for what you do.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck to the both of you. Let's see what happens in August. So good luck. The Democratic women endorsed and offered matching funds to John Lutz, who's running for Yavapai County Board of Supervisors District 1, Judy Staal, who's running for Arizona State House, and David Dome, who is running for Prescott Valley Town Council. David unfortunately had a meeting at 2 and he had to leave. But I'm just going to read you what he wrote in the chat. He wants to thank everyone from the depths of his heart for our support for his campaign. He's dedicated to becoming the voice of the citizens of Prescott Valley and ensuring that the citizens' voices are not only heard, but also put on the record in Prescott Valley. Put on the record in Prescott Valley Council meetings. He also pledges that he will be an ongoing advocate for responsible water conservation and growth that makes sense, but not growth just for growth's sake. So because he had to leave for a meeting, so I did invite him to come and speak at our next meeting in July. So John Lutz and Judy Staal are going to have a few minutes to offer their thanks to us for the matching fund. So John?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to see you all here. And especially it was fun to see Donna Michaels. I think she's going to be a fabulous county supervisor. So anyway, thank you, Donna. That was a great presentation. You're awesome. I just want to thank you, the DWPA, and you guys have been so supportive of my campaign. It's just incredible. And this the match that you set up was just awesome. We actually met the match within 24 hours. So I'm pretty proud of how fast that went down. But then we've more than doubled that since. So it was a very successful fundraising effort, and I thank you all for it. You guys have not only all supported me financially, but you know, so many of the people that donated to the DWPA match had already donated to my campaign, or were already writing postcards for my campaign, or were already making phone calls for my campaign. So my heart pours out to you guys. I just couldn't be happier than I am. So overwhelmingly grateful for how my community has supported me in this effort. My gratitude can almost bring me to tears at any time. So it's just it's really, really, really fabulous. And you know, my campaign having gone virtual, you know, I've made over 3,000 phone calls myself. My volunteers have made over 4,000 phone calls. The volunteers have handwritten over 4,000 postcards into the districts that I'm having my neighborhood discussions with. So we're on like a 2-week period of 800 to 1,000 postcards every 2 weeks going out. And you know, all those things cost a lot of money, and you guys have really helped me support it. So my gratitude is huge, and I thank you. To have a support like I have in Yavapai is golden. So thanks so much.
Thanks, John. Judy.
Hey, well, it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. And again, I agree with John. Donna Michaels, wow, what a great board supervisor you would make for Yavapai County. And wonderful, as always, to hear from Delina and Stu and from John as well, and to know that we are all here and bringing the Democrats to the fore in our county, in our district, and in our congressional races. So I am running for Arizona State House for Legislative District 1. And I just want to let you know real quickly that my team is firing on all cylinders. We're coming up on a financial deadline to file for the second quarter to the Secretary of State. And we are intending to file early, but as soon as we can, and make sure that everybody on the other side of the aisle who's running, there are 5 different folks who are running for the primary against me. I, of course, am running uncontested in the primary, that they can see that we have serious support, that this is a viable campaign, and that we're going to win. You know, the fact of the matter is I only need to come in second because it's a multi candidate race. There are 2 seats that will be filled, and it's the 2 top vote getters. So I want to remind you all that an important part of our strategy for winning is making sure that everyone who supports me votes for me and only me, and that you vote for me as well in the primary. We want to impress upon everyone, every chance we get, the amount of support that we've got. So I'm grateful to my team for the work that they're doing. And wow, we've been endorsed personally by Terry Goddard. He gave us a terrific endorsement. You can see it on our website. We've been endorsed by the Teamsters Local 104 and by Stand for Children. We have some individual endorsements, and we're going to be getting more of those out on our website at judystaal.com. So I hope you'll go and check that out. We also do now have t-shirts and tank tops. I'm just going to show you my t-shirt. Yay! So I hope that you guys will go on the website and purchase one and purchase two. Get some for friends. And we have yard signs that should be here by the end of next week. So we are doing what we need to as a team to make things happen. Okay, really quickly, I just want to say that we have been a virtual campaign since March 12th, and we are still a completely virtual campaign because it is our, we believe we need to model the kind of leadership that we will bring to the State House. And healthcare comes first. You really cannot open an economy when people do not feel safe that they're not potentially going to get a virus that could kill them and could infect their families. So anything that can be done to model the kind of leadership that we would bring, we are in the process of doing. So we're reaching out virtually. And the main thing that we need on our team in order to fulfill our campaign plan are volunteers to make phone calls. That is the main thing. We've got text bankers. We've got many, many postcards going out, but we need a massive effort in order to fulfill our campaign plan. So I know that a lot of you have wanted to volunteer, and we need you now. Now is the time to come on, and we're going to be phoning voters from here on out. I am running a campaign that requires me to have many, many Republicans and many, many independents vote for me. And I want you to know that we are reaching out to those folks as well. And many of them have already asked about yard signs and are going to be putting them up in their yards. So,
thank you so much.
And let me quickly just say thank you to the DWPA for the incredible donation. We have matched that, and we appreciate everything that DWPA is doing and continues to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have $500 that Kelsey's going to be spinning the wheel. So whoever wins will be taking home $250. Kelsey?
This is my favorite part. Okay, so this is all the names of people in here, and we're going to spin the wheel for the 50-50. And after that winner is announced, I'm going to spin the wheel one more time, and that person will be getting a new Judy Staal t-shirt. So they will be the first one outside of Judy's house with a t-shirt on. So here we go for the money.
Yay.
All right. Now I'm going to shuffle them. And this is for the t-shirt.
Hey, Cindy.
So Cindy, if you can message me with size, I will make sure that gets to you.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone. I do want to thank Mavis Brower, who's our executive producer, and she's just amazing. She makes this all happen. And Tracy, thanks for the questions. Stu, Delina, Donna, everyone. Thank you so much. So I look forward to seeing you next month. Take care, wear your masks, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maria.
Thank you, Maria. Good
Thank you.
job.
Oh, good seeing you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay, thank all of you.
Night, John.
Be well, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good luck, Delina.
Be safe, Delina.
Delina.